Good morning. This is Shindo. I'm looking at this article this morning to illustrate what has happened to the media in the past week. This is from the New York Post, and it's about the New York Times. First, now I always put up a link. I always put a link in the description box, so go to the description box. You're going to want to see this. Over on the right-hand side of the screen of this article, there is a picture of our soon-to-be First Lady embracing another woman naked. Melania Trump's girl-on-girl photos from racy shoot revealed. A picture of the woman who's about to be the First Lady of the United States of America and another woman naked, holding each other. Don't believe me? Go to the description box and look for yourself at this article. This is what you voted in, Christians. No, you're not hypocritical at all. All right, crazy land. We live in crazy land. New York Times. We blew it on Trump. The Gray Lady feels the agony of political defeat in her reputation and in her wallet after taking a beating almost as brutal as Hillary Clinton's. The New York Times on Friday made an extraordinary appeal to its readers to stand by her. The publisher's letter to subscribers was part apology, in part defense of its campaign coverage, but the key takeaway was the pledge to do better. Times publisher Arthur Sulzberger, Jr. admitted the paper failed to appreciate Donald Trump's appeal. I'll try to keep my editorials to the end here. Quote, after such an erratic and unpredictable election, there are inevitable questions. Did Donald Trump's sheer unconventionality lead us and others, news outlets, to underestimate his support among American voters? While insisting his staff had quote, reported on both candidates fairly, unquote, he also vowed that the paper would, quote, re-educate ourselves to the fundamental missions of the Times journalism. This is to report America and the world honestly, without fear or favor, unquote. Ah, there's the rub. Had the paper actually been fair to both candidates, it wouldn't need to re-educate itself to honest reporting, and it wouldn't have been totally blindsided by Trump's victory. Instead, because it demonized Trump from start to finish, it failed to realize he was onto something, and because the paper decided that Trump's supporters were a rabble of racist rednecks and homophobes, it didn't have a clue about what was happening in the lives of Americans who elected the new president. Sulzberger's letter alluded to this, promising that the paper will, quote, strive always to understand and reflect all political perspectives and life experiences in the stories that we bring to you, unquote. But bad or sloppy journalism doesn't fully capture the Times' sins. Not after it announced that it was breaking its rules of coverage because Trump didn't deserve fairness. As media columnist Jim Rotzenberg put in August, most Time reporters saw Trump, quote, as an abnormal and potentially dangerous candidate, unquote, and thus couldn't be even-handed. That wasn't one reporter talking, it was policy. The standards developments over the decades to force reporters and editors to be fair and to build public trust were effectively eliminated as too restrictive for Trump phenomenon. The man responsible for that rash decision, top editor Dean Banquet, later said that Rothenberg piece, quote, nailed his thinking, and went on to insist that Trump, quote, challenged our language, unquote, and that, quote, we will have change journalism, unquote. No kidding. Banquet also said that the struggle for fairness, quote, I think that Trump has ended that struggle, unquote, adding, quote, we now say stuff, we fact-checked him. We write it more powerfully that it's false, unquote. Banquet was wrong. Trump indeed was challenging, but it was Banquet who changed journalism. He's the one who decided that the standards of fairness and nonpartisanship could be broken without consequence. After that, the floodgates opened, and virtually every so-called news article reflected a clear bias against Trump and in favor of Clinton. Stories, photos, headlines, placement in the paper, all the tools were used to pick a president. The facts be damned. Now that the bill is coming due, shocked by Trump's victory and mocked even by liberals for its bias, the paper is also apparently bleeding readers and money. I've gotten letters from people who say they canceled their Times subscription, and to judge from a cryptic line on Thursday's article, the problem is more than anecdotal. Citing reader anger over election coverage, Rothenberg wrote that, quote, most ominously, it came in the form of canceled subscriptions. Most obviously for you, having grown up at the Times, I am pained by its decline. More troubling, as the flagship of American journalism, it is giving all reporters a black eye. Its standards were the source of its credibility, and eliminating them has made it less than ordinary. It is because of these concerns that I repeat a suggestion about how to fix the mess. Because he now concedes a problem, perhaps Stoltenberg will consider taking action. Using an outside law firm or even an in-house reporters, he must assess how and why Banquet made the decision to sever the paper from its roots. He must assess the impact on reporters and editors and whether they felt pressure to conform the stories to Banquet's political bias. Whatever the findings, the publisher must insist that the standards of fairness again becomes a fundamental tenet in the newsroom. As an added guarantee, he must insist that the paper enlarge its thinking about diversity to include journalists who disagree with the Times' embedded liberal slant. There has to be a difference of perspective to judge where fairness lies. Readers and former readers should be part of the process. Many already know that the paper must get its head out of patriarchal New York and into the hearts and minds of Americans everywhere. This is about survival. If it doesn't change now, the Gray Lady's day surely are numbered. And then here in the bottom, it has the actual article from the New York Times where they apologize to their readers. Now, the reason I wanted to do this article is something that I have seen, no surprise, when it comes to the media now. And this has very serious implications for all of us who want to actually get news. Now, I've spent, as I do every morning, a little while looking over the national news, and I'm not right now going to be doing that because it's all about how's Trump going to do this and how Trump's going to do that when it comes to the National Front. What I find curious is that Russia was on its way to Syria, and yet Aleppo is still not being totally bombarded into oblivion yet. I don't know why. So I was trying to find that out, but I'm not going to get that answer right now because the news media right now is concentrating on basically kissing Donald Trump's ass. Thanks to this incredibly biased, slanted journalism for Hillary Clinton and against Donald Trump that we have been watching for months now, the journalists have basically hunkered down, and you can tell that, and I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't actually sit down and have a meeting and say, oh, we need to lay off of Donald Trump or he can destroy us. He probably will anyway, by the way. CNN, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, everyone that went against him. Megyn Kelly. Folks, he acts all nice and conciliatory, and he wants to now be friends, and he's gonna just let it all just. It's all water under the bridge. Let's just move on. That's the way he's acting. But I assure you, this guy is not just going to shrug his shoulders and forget about revenge. He's going to get it. And he's going to get it in a very subtle way. And he's going to get it in a way that you're never going to hear about. And why? Because he's about to be president of the United States. People keep talking about what Donald Trump can't do. Okay, Donald Trump can't do this. Donald Trump can't do that. Donald Trump can virtually do whatever he wants as long as he gets the people's support behind it. And half of the country is ready to support him in just about anything he does, and the other half is too damn frightened to go against him. So now we have a media that is going to be too afraid to actually cover Donald Trump and what he does. So this is what we've got here. So if it had gone the other way and Clinton was president, oh Jesus, oh God, I couldn't even watch the news. It would be nothing but just praise and glory for this, let's just say, flawed woman, Hillary Clinton. So now, this is what we've got, folks. I have been talking about how the media is not covering stories that are, pertinent, stories that might actually affect you, like World War III, the build-up to World War III, things like that. And they're still not covering it. And the build-up is still going on. So, I don't know about you, but I find it pretty boring to sit for an hour and hear about what the transition team is going to do. It's boring. And they're not covering any other news besides maybe a wildfire here or there. And yes, they're covering the protest, but they're not covering it the way they used to cover the protest. I at the top of the hour, I go to CNN to see what they're doing now. And a week ago, it would be Donald Trump tweeted this. This is what so-and-so said about Donald Trump. They'd never be elected. He's horrible, blah, blah, blah. And now the first story is Donald Trump has decided such and such and such and such is going to be on his transition team. It's boring. It's boring news, and they know it's boring news. They're being boring because they don't want to they don't want to further incense the man who is going to have the power to shut them down. I mean, he's not going to just say, okay, I'm going to shut CNN down. But he's going to change the laws so that it's going to be very expensive for them to put out their show, to put out their news. A show, all right. But I wanted to do this video because, folks, we need to be paying attention to this, because thanks to the slanted coverage that the media has done for months and months on Donald Trump, they are now hunkering down. I'm hearing people on CNN praise Donald Trump. Do you think they really mean that? I can guarantee you they see what's going on, and they say, and they're too afraid to say something like, I don't believe Donald Trump. He's not going to do what he says he's going to do. Well, folks, I don't believe Donald Trump. I don't believe he's going to do what he says he's going to do. Heck, he's already talking about Obamacare. He's going to replace Obamacare with what? Obamacare? That's basically what he's saying when he says that he's going to keep the mandate that requires insurance companies to take you regardless of your pre-existing conditions, because that is what's causing Obamacare to go through the roof in expense, and there's no way in hell he's going to be able to pull that expense down without subsidizing it, without, shelling out money from the coffers of our government, which are bare. Our coffers are bare. We are $20 trillion in debt. Dark and desperate times. I don't guess I have to tell you that, right? This is Shindo. Have a good Sunday.